My worship might not look like your worship, but because it doesn't look like your worship does not mean that I'm not a worshiper. Because guess what? Praise in my worship might not look like your worship, but it has to have this in common: obedience to God, nothing else. Because you cannot worship God without obedience to Him. He doesn't accept anything you have to offer. That's word. All right, babies. Now y'all listen. Let me put some parameters around y'all. We're going to send y'all outside. Praise Jesus. Yes. On purpose. We're not going to run, jump, play. We going to start a garden. Okay? Going to start a garden. So, bigger babies, I need you to watch over the little ones. All right? Please watch over them. Don't let them run off and do crazy stuff. Pastor Teresa will be out there. It's time to start your garden. We have provided you with the container and the dirt. Now you provide, and seed. Now you provide the labor in the growth. All right? Do you want to go out the back door, Pastor Teresa?
No, we can go around.
You can go around? Okay. So, Lord, I know you got your group. Just, okay. All right. So, let us follow Pastor Teresa and Sister Lourdes as we go out and begin our garden. I'm going to be looking for some vegetables, here in a couple of months. So, y'all make sure y'all put good anointed hands down in the dirt. Now, I'm going to be doing this every week, as I said. I'm going to be doing it every week, just bringing a truth, a fact, before you about worship and what worship is and what worship is not. As we continue through this series, and I'm going to go over this again because we've got a whiteboard that we're writing it on. The praise and worship, that segment of our services that we do on Sunday, our programs are. Anytime we come into the house of the Lord, usually, unless it's a Bible study or something of that nature, we offer God worship through praise and worship, through the singing of songs and the playing of instruments and using our gifts of voices and the ability to play. We say to worship Him. Okay? I have absolutely no problem praising worship. I love it. Absolutely. But I understand that's my act of worship. I'm worship. I'm getting We say, I am a worshiper. No problem. I'm a Greek speaker. I'm a Greek thinker. I'm English speaker. So to describe worship, me and worship, the relationship I have, I say I am a worshiper. But in the Hebrew tongue, it would be I am worship. It doesn't change because of now it's a person. All right. So my song, the lifting of my hands, these things that become a part of when we gather corporately. All right. We gather corporately to come before God to worship Him. That's what we say in services. This first segment now that is really taken, unless you are of certain denominations, and there are few of them that remain. The first segment that takes place is called praise and worship. All right. Again, love it, but it has not always been a part of the church. or the gathering of the saints. It is not. These are facts, and you can look them up. And Don, remind me next week, please, Pastor, as I did with the teaching on Thursday night, we're going to put a link up that you can scan to go to where we got information from, because I'm not pulling information just from any source. I'm going to our encyclopedias and our recorded church histories that exist. All right, I want you to be able to get it. So next week, please do remind me to put those links up in the slideshow where to go across the screen. So this contemporary praise and worship is a contemporary form of devotional music. It arose during the latter part of the 20th century. It's not always been in the church. The latter part of the 20th century. So my question is, if praise and worship is the most important part of worship, because that's what some people say, what did they do for centuries before? Okay, just think on that. And then it goes on to say, the musical repertoire and performance style known as praise and worship only arose in the U.S. within, I'm gonna hurt some of y'all feelings right now, the white evangelical churches in the 1970s. Yeah. I'm sorry, brothers and sisters. We did not birth it and we can't take ownership of it. And it was a strategic move and plan. It was designed by its creators to bring the baby boomer generation back to the church. That would be me. I'm a baby boomer. So we need to stop, sending this current generation that seems like they're disenfranchised and disconnected from church. Stop sending them to hell. Because we had left the church. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the strategy to return us to the church was what we now call praise and worship. It was a generation. Several contemporary Christian music artists entered into the movement at the second chapter of Acts, using the second chapter of Acts, and one of the African American gospel performers, to include Andre Crouch and Thomas Whitfield, were a part of that movement. That's why we love Andre Crouch. And our white brothers and sisters do too. Yeah, in the 70s. I'm just going through, I'm not going to read you all of it. But within the Black church and amongst African American recorded artists, their praise and worship repertoire could include a range of songs, some of which can be described as gospel influence. Praise is what I do, let the praise begin. Amongst their songs could also be music that originated amongst the CCM artists. And so, in this case, with such songs as Break Every Chain, Paul Allen said, we make it praise and worship within the Black church because of soul. We added drums, bass, and guitars, some climaxes, and even some key changes. Call and response is often used in the performance of this music, with a lead singer or worship leader, as we call them, performing a verse and then moving into a chorus in which the praise team, congregation, and or other singers repeat the line that has just been sung. We're blessed and to our God. The praise team often dresses in attire reflective of the contemporary style in which they perform. Jeans, leggings, t-shirts, hoodies are not uncommonly seen. However, they can also be found dressed in more traditional church attire, such as skirts and blouses, dresses, dress pants, and shirts, featuring different colors. We've even seen that some will wear robes, as most choirs have been added to the praise and worship segment of service. Unlike gospel lyrics that can include content about a range of spiritual personal and community concerns. Praise and worship music was supposed to primarily focus solely on God's goodness, greatness, and power, as well as invitations to God to manifest in a particular space. We can find examples of this in praise and worship songs such as How Great Is Our God, Break Every Chain, Lord, You Are Good, and Fill Me Up. The words can also include, the lyrics can also include words from the Old Testament. We have taken up even Old Testament Hebraic words such as Barak, Halah, Shabbat, Tehillah, Torah, Yara, and Zamah. Praise and worship. Absolutely, I can't go to the church without praise and worship. It was a strategic move by some of the leaders. We've got to get the baby, but we got to get this generation. They weren't called probably baby boomers back then. It's just a generation has left the church. Now those that it was created to draw back and lure back into the church, we now are the pocketbook of the church. I love my millennials. I absolutely love, Xers and Ys and all of that. But when you look at the church as a whole, it is the baby boomer generation that financially carries the church. But it's starting to shift now because the baby boomers are retiring out.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. So now the X generation will become the foundation financially of the church. So in a way, baby boomers, we got to do something. How are we going to influence, a generation that has left the church to come back to the church? Now, contrary to belief, we don't like it that most of the songs that are sung in praise and worship are from the white evangelicals. We just take it and we make it something else. That's all.
Right.
We add a drum, we add some horns, we add a little bit of soul to it. But I challenge you to go to the repertoire of what praise and worship songs are popular, and most of them have been written by white artists. Praise and worship only entered the church in the 70s. Can you believe that? So how did they worship God before that? Before we had performances on the stage.